Hello, friends. Good morning and happy Sunday, Sunday. Hope everybody's been doing amazing this week. I hope you're staying warm in this chilly weather. We are hanging out today talking about moving on. That is going to be the topic for our conversation. So we've been having some conversations about what happens when you decide that it's time to move forward. You decide that something has to be left behind, and other people who were in that old place with you might not necessarily be in that same space. They might not be ready to continue a journey to cross over with you. So what happens in those times when you're ready and you're looking behind and there's other people that you love, that you care about, that maybe aren't ready to go on that journey with you? So that's the conversation today, is healing and moving forward when other people aren't ready to come with you. So Scoopalicious, I know you have some thoughts, some words you want to share with us.
Yes. So Savvy Scoop and I read a book called The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beattie. And one of my favorite passages that I've shared with the group is on February 12th. And I just want to share this passage with the group and with everybody out there, and then we can discuss it. So I just want everybody to picture a bridge. On one side of the bridge, it's cold and dark. We stood there with others in the cold and darkness, doubled over in pain. Then some of us got lucky. Our eyes opened by the grace of God because it was time. We saw the bridge. People told us what was on the other side: warmth, light, and healing from our pain. We could barely glimpse or imagine this, but we decided to start the trek across the bridge anyway. We tried to convince the people around us on the cliff that there was a bridge to a better place, but they wouldn't listen. They couldn't see it. They couldn't believe. They were not ready for the journey. We decided to go alone because we believed and because people on the other side were cheering us onward. The closer we got to the other side, the more we could see and feel that what we had been promised was real. There was light, warmth, healing, and love. The other side was a better place. But now there was a bridge between us and those on the other side. Sometimes we may be tempted to go back and drag them over with us, but it cannot be done. No one can be dragged or forced across the bridge. Each person must at their own pace, their own choice. When the time is right, some will come, some will stay on the other side. The choice is not ours. We can love them. We can wave at them. We can holler back and forth. We can cheer them on as others have cheered and encouraged us, but we cannot make them come over with us. If our time has come to cross the bridge, or if we have already crossed and are standing in the light and warmth, we do not have to feel guilty. It is where we are meant to be. We do not have to go back to the dark cliff because others have not come yet. That is the passage. So what do you guys think about that?
I'm just curious, what speaks to you personally about that passage?
I've had some family members that I've had to love from afar, and I've talked to my parents about said family members and wanting to make different choices with these family members, and even times with us, with the kids. I think, well, I'll just go back to some of the advice they've had to say. You just have to love people from afar. You can love people who hurt you, but you're going to have to love them from a distance. That doesn't mean you have to keep them in your circle. It doesn't mean that you have to spend time with them. But if somebody is unhealthy for you, you just have to love them from afar. And that's what speaks to me, because I don't think that, maybe you've crossed the bridge in one way and then not another way. Maybe you're still working on something and you might be in the middle. Not everybody has completely crossed. I know I'm not in the darkness anymore. I might be like almost all the way there in some aspects, and I might just still be right in the middle or halfway or almost to the brighter side in other areas. I don't think that one day I hope to be fully there.
Sometimes we take steps back.
They say 2 steps forward, one step forward, 2 steps back.
Paula Abdul.
It's totally. I definitely think that there is like some teeter-tottering that happens.
That's the
you
kind
have
of
a
bridge.
longing.
Yeah, I picture my bridge to be a wooden bridge, and I
Mine
picture it
goes
to
like
have.
this.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I picture mine going like this.
Yes, me too.
Oh,
Mine is a
side to
wooden
side?
bridge
Yeah.
with rope rails. It's not a sturdy bridge, because life is it's not very
Unpredictable.
sturdy.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's the word. It's unpredictable. And so that's what I picture my bridge to look like. And I don't know if you guys, because I've read this to you before, have you guys, like, what does your bridge look like? Do you have a bridge? Maybe it doesn't resonate with you, but that's what I picture on my bridge to look like.
My bridge, like I said, it swings. It definitely has like a teeter-totter movement to it. And when I look at my bridge, there's certain faces, there's certain people that I see on either side. And sometimes you have to pick And sometimes picking feels good and sometimes makes you a little sad. But honestly, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can imagine. I know who for certain is still in the dark place in my metaphor. I can picture who's in the dark place, and I can picture who's in the light place. Like my dad is in the light place. He's somebody that I can go to talk to, and of course, I'm sure people can go back and forth. You would hope not. You would hope that once you've crossed that bridge, or if you see that person in that light, hopefully they'll stay in that place. But I imagine you can go back, that person can go back and forth because we all make mistakes.
Yes.
All
Mina's
the way
joining
from
us from
your
London, our world traveler
I
friend.
sure am. I sure am. And apologies for the background music. People are
No?
everywhere. I really liked what you
Okay.
read. And one thing that I would say is it is about reframing boundaries. So whether anybody's on your bridge or not doesn't matter. You are reframing boundaries. And sometimes it is important to figure out who you are, why you are like that. And it's okay. Healing takes time. Sometimes we feel that we have healed, but we don't know who we meet or what one incident takes us back to that lane that where you don't want to go. So if you can reframe your boundary, great. It's a very beautiful passage, and I can definitely resonate with it. Paula, what do you have to say?
I got to admit this. I find this passage, like, it triggers me a little bit. And I'm trying to, like, explore that within myself. Like, why is this bothering me so much? So I'm kind of sitting with it. I think we all have times in our life when people that we love, people that we care about, are like 2 steps behind or even further. I have felt ready to, like, move forward, to explore, to, like, create more in my life. And I feel like, come on, let's go. And they're not, like, they're not hearing me. They're not doing what I think they ought to do. Like, there's something heavy, like, about this passage that is making me uncomfortable. Like, I almost didn't want to participate in this conversation because I was just like,
Let me
something
just
is surfacing
bring
and
you
I have
down.
to.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the issue, is that I am bringing it down. I am pushing
Mhm.
it down. And I think it's, the idea of crossing over and having to leave people behind. I think we all have to do that at some point in our life. But what if that person is like your child? What if it's your husband? How do you do that? How do you move forward when somebody who is so, like, intricately, I forget what the word is, intrinsically tied to you? How do you do that? How do you go across and leave somebody that important behind?
I don't know if you necessarily have to physically leave them. Like, you can still love them. Let's say, for example, you have a child who's I want to give an example, but maybe you just don't give money. Maybe you give other resources, like, I'll send you a grocery order because they'll spend that money on something else. This is how I can help you. I love you. This is how I can help you. When my idea of moving forward is not abandonment. It's not, I'm over here, welcome, come anytime, but don't ever call me. Don't ever reach out to me. I'm loving you from afar, but I just can't provide some of the resources that might fuel things that will continue to harm you. I cannot partake in that. I can help in other ways that will keep you safe and keep you fed, keep you nourished. And that's what I am doing actually right now. But I don't see that crossing the bridge as abandonment.
I know, to me, I feel like this is a more spiritual passage for internally, an internal bridge. I think that we all go through seasons in our life where people are in our life for a season or longer, and putting it into that perspective, I guess, is the way that I do it. I know that the goal is to be the light for other people at the end of the bridge. So getting there and strategically placing yourself on the other side of the bridge so that others can see that it looks like it's safe and it's warm and it's inviting, and bringing them with you. But also understanding that not everyone is going to go. Not everyone is invited to the table. Not everyone is going to be a part of that with you. And that is a hard thing. Whether it's your child or your husband, your best friend,
Sister.
your sister, it's an inward bridge that you have to cross yourself. This is like a self walk without other people. Like, you really have to see yourself in this place. Like, this is for me. This is for my betterment. And hopefully people can come along with you. Hopefully. they'll see that you're glowing up, or you're going to a better place. That's how I took the passage. And I definitely don't want to leave anyone behind. I really don't. I want everyone to come along for the ride, celebrate good times. Come on. This is we are in full of music this morning, aren't we?
I'd like to have a dance party.
Well,
Like,
you know what I
yeah,
love?
I know.
You said something about the table, and we are all invited to the table. I think that's a given. We have a lot of spiritual conversations amongst all of us, and whatever we look to as a higher, wherever we put our faith, I think one of the pillars of faith is that there is this table, and that, yes, we are all invited to it, but some of us maybe don't choose to join. I don't think I'm talking about, abandoning people who aren't ready to come with you, especially if it's a close relationship, like a sibling, a child, a husband, a wife, that we physically leave them behind. But I also think maybe at some point, does it get to that point that you maybe do have to physically remove yourself to fully cross that bridge and enjoy all the light and the goodness and the joy and peace and ease and serenity that is on the other side of the bridge? Like, I'm just trying to picture, like the distance, like the emotional distance that would naturally be created when one person is so far ahead and, so motivated and so inspired and ready to move towards everything else that's on the other side of the bridge, and other person isn't. And you don't want to leave them behind. Like, you physically don't want to do that. You don't want to remove yourself from that relationship. Maybe that's part of the struggle for me too.
I like what you
Do
said,
you think you have
Tanisha,
to
about
remove yourself from the relationship? I'm sorry,
I guess
Aaron.
that's
no, I think
I guess that's my question for the group is, what do you all think? Like, does it ever get to that point where one individual is so far across the bridge and the other one is just like, I'm not coming. I don't see it.
I think if you are being abused in a way that is hurting you, and I'm not talking about like physical necessarily, or I guess you could, physical, emotionally, yes, you might just have to be like, look, until you get the help that you need, I need to protect myself. I need to protect my spirit. I need to, I think sometimes as moms or friends or wives, just as women, we're just natural caregivers, but we forget to take care of ourselves. And I'm tired of not taking care of myself. And I'm tired of the closest people to me hurting me the most and allowing it. And I'm not going to allow it anymore. And so for me, I pray that certain people will come into the light and say, look, it's time to get the help, the necessarily help we need to get into recovery. But I cannot be your punching bag anymore. And these people are very close to me. Last night I got a phone call asking for money, and I know what the money's for. I got hung up on because I wouldn't send it. And it's the same conversation all the time, and it hurts. And I cannot invite this person into my home to stay long term. And then I have another person saying, you're not doing anything for this person. You got this house. Don't let that person live here. You don't do this. You don't do that. And like, I get it from, you're not helping me and you're not helping that person. And it's like, stop. It's not my responsibility to fix everything for everybody else.
Absolutely.
And it's not, and get abused for the things that in the meantime, I help where I can, and I help from a distance. And I do struggle with this, Paula, so I totally can relate, because I think you probably know who I'm speaking about. It's very difficult for me.
I really like this topic because I feel like it opens up room for discussion for our own growth of where we are on our bridge, because the bridge is individual, I believe. And we were just talking about which way do we sway, and how does that look for us? Is it a bumpy bridge? Is it a straight bridge? Are the planks falling out? You got to jump over, kind of type of thing. But it really is like an individual walk for all of us. And I think that's the most important thing, because I don't think you should look at it as leaving people behind. We all came into this world alone. We're going to leave this world alone. And we've got to walk this bridge, whether we have somebody with us or not. I think that's the most important thing. And let me clarify, you're right. Everyone is invited to the table. I meant to say not everybody is invited to walk with you along the walk that you're going.
Thanks, Abby.
it really resonates with me. You know what
what Tanisha said earlier, about it being an internal bridge for me, because I think, just say we're talking about addiction, I think that's an element of what's come up here that changes people, and they don't show up as they normally would. And sometimes you do just have to kind of remove yourself and go to the other side, I guess, proverbially, go elsewhere, and love people from afar, which comes to unconditional love, in my mind. It doesn't mean that you don't love that person, but you can't participate in the sickness of what's going on. And you can be there for them in other ways that don't harm you, but you have to make for me, I have to make choices that are healthy for me. That's been my experience. But I also think I'll just speak like as a parent, family member, friend. Sometimes you can see somebody might be heading down a troubled path, and you can have conversations about it, but then it comes to a point where maybe you want to control others' behavior and steer them in a certain direction. And I've had to realize at points in my life that that's not necessarily my role in that relationship. It's more about loving that person, and if they would like some advice and opinion about it, I'm happy to share it, but that everybody has their own path, and maybe what I am thinking is their current path and where they should go is maybe not exactly the right one, And it's not that I'm not intuitive, it's just that everybody does have their own journey, and sometimes has things that they have to go through and experience themselves. And especially as a parent, like you want to protect your children from those things and stop them from going down a troubled path. It's really going to hurt them, and it's so hard to find that balance. I've really been trying to focus on how am I showing up and what am I doing, and what kind of energy am I creating when I'm in relationship with that person, and when I'm present with them and not present with them, what are they seeing, and experiencing, and try to emulate that out. And then when there is time to talk, if they want the advice or, are seeking guidance, to share that, but to try and let go of the control of the situation, and forcing it to go a certain way. Cause I certainly have been like that at points in my life, and it's freaking hard. It's hard to do that because my want is to want to do otherwise. I think also just not letting situations hold you back personally too, because someone else is struggling, in those ways. It's sometimes you do have to go, okay, that's okay. But I'm still going to do this. Like I'm still going to go on this walk, or I'm still going to, that's a very minor example, but I'm still going to, go and work out, even if you don't want to go with me, or I'm going to still try and eat healthy, and I'm still going to, move forward on some of these things because it's good for me and that's what I want to do and I'm ready, and so just starting that yourself and deciding for yourself what's good and taking action on it, I think is it's a lot of self-love, and unconditional love for yourself despite what others are doing.
Never heard that.
Savvy.
I love how you use the word advice throughout that whole topic because, we are advisors in this point in our lives, I think. And when we look at it, instead of, because this book is about codependency, like coming away from codependency. And one of the things that we tend to do is always want to be that person to tell someone, well, do it this way, do it this way, do it this way. Follow me, follow me, follow me. I know the right way, and sometimes it's not about that. We are really advising one another and providing advice. And so we come out of that place knowing that we it gives a better understanding of knowing that not the decision lies with that other person. Like you can give them the information, you can share with them your thoughts, you can advise them, but it stays there. They have the choice to make the decision to come and walk with you.
Erin, I think daily, I am thinking of your statement of you can only control to what's to right here. I think I say it daily.
Credit my mom.
Well, kudos to
I
mama
love that.
because I think about that all the time and I try to keep that at the forefront of my brain. And I like what you said about unconditional love for yourself. And I think that's the first time I've ever heard that because I haven't had that. Like I love myself, but have I really had unconditional love for myself to where the people that I'm supposed to also have that same kind of love for myself, they get a pass. they get a pass to be a particular way towards me. And they shouldn't, So you I got some things to walk away, some thoughts to walk away with today.
So I'm just going to chime in, and I think it's important to mention the follower or the person that's being left behind. Because I'm not always the leader. I don't like to lead. I like to follow. Sometimes I need some hand holding, and sometimes I need some convincing. And whether that's from my husband or from God or from my mom or from my big sister, I definitely sit on either side in a place of hope because I don't like to do things alone. I'm really kind of a baby when it comes to doing things alone. Sometimes I want to be led. Sometimes I want to be carried. Sometimes I want to piggyback. That's just who I am. I definitely am a person that sits in a place of hope, and being on the other side, I think there's many times in my life that I'm like, I hope they come back. I hope they don't forget me, because I've been left a lot, and it's hard because you just sit in a place of hope thinking, I hope they come back. And there's something bigger and greater out there, I know, but just the faith of like sitting in prayer, sitting in silence, sitting in the light and just knowing there is beauty, there is decency, there is grace, there is power in love, there is power in connection. Somebody's going to come back for me. Somebody out there loves me. Because, as a wife and as a mother, I just think that I'm swinging back and forth because sometimes I need to follow, but maybe sometimes I need to hold somebody's hand and walk with them. And as Christians, I think we all believe that when we see somebody making a bad choice, it is our duty to walk with that person, but also, like I said, to sit in a place of hope because sometimes we're being left. So I just think it's important to think about that side also.
And that was really beautiful, sister. And I'm sorry that you have felt like that in your life. Because so I guess maybe that's where I'm sitting with some of this in a hard way too, because there are people I don't want to leave behind, like I want my life to go in a certain direction. And I see all the good across that bridge. It is a beautiful passage, Scoopalicious. When you're thinking about the light and the sunshine and the possibilities across that bridge, it's like, yeah, I want to go there. And I want you to come with me. Come on, let's go. I don't want to leave people behind. I don't want to leave the people that I love and care about so deeply and dream about and pray about and like have hopes and desires for that person. I don't want to leave them behind. I very much want to cross that bridge with you. And it's breaking my heart that if I ever made my little sister feel like that, or anyone that I love, because you're so right, Carolina, we can't forget about the people that are still back there. If we make it across, if we're figuring out how to get there, it's our responsibility, I think, to reach back and help them over.
Yeah. Well, it was never you. I just want to
Thank you.
say that you've always come back for me. Always. You've been my steadfast, my grounding, my person, always.
And
But
you've
yeah, I
been
think
that
it's
for
really
me too.
important. I think it's always important to look back in our success and things that we've done wrong. It's important to look back. Life does go full circle. And just because we're moving forward doesn't mean that we shouldn't look back. There's always somebody tapping us on the shoulder, whether it's the enemy, whether it's God. There's always a little bit of tapping in whatever direction we're walking.
This is so interesting, though, how many different ways you can look at this. And I think I love what you just said, Carolina, because I wasn't necessarily thinking in that line, but that's so true because there are situations sometimes that we do choose to walk away from or relationships that, maybe have ended where you get to continue on. And I do think it's okay, for the people that we're closest to sometimes to take a pause sometimes and take a breath and, just re-examine or evaluate how we feel about stuff. I mean, I certainly have had to do that in my close relationships in my life at times. And sometimes that can be super healthy. Like you go do you right now and I'll do me and we'll come back together and reconvene, And sometimes that was like the medicine that was needed, for everyone to self-examine and grow and forget about whatever conflict was there too and move forward or just really grow from it, you know. But I love that you
Absolutely.
said that, Carolina, because I do think that the conversation of boundaries is triggering to me sometimes. because I feel like it can be used in a way to uh, sideline people. And I'm not saying that's always the case, but I've observed that sometimes, like I'm setting a boundary and, you're off my list right now, and um, that's a whole other topic. I won't go down
Mm.
that rabbit hole right now, but I just, we have to be mindful of that too, of taking responsibility for what that really means in our choices and what we're doing. If we're saying we need to take a break or uh, what those reasons are. Are we really trying to just control the other person and seeking a very specific outcome, or are we focused on really nurturing that relationship and thinking about that other person and ourselves too, and the greater good for both? I don't know if any of that made sense, but that's what's going through my head right now.
Thank you. Savvy, do you have something to say? I know you were kind of limited on time this morning. So I want to make sure you.
Was just thinking two things actually, and Carolina almost brought me to tears there for a minute. I got to keep it together.
Sorry. My doves are being so loud in the background. I'm sorry.
Um, the first thing is I don't know if you guys watched the show Chosen, but I just noticed in the beginning of the intro, there are fish in the intro and they're all gray fish and there are a few teal fish and the teal fish are going a different direction than the gray fish. And then you see there's another teal fish that all of a sudden
Random.
pops up or it's a gray fish that turns teal and it goes the other direction with the teal fish. And so that made me thinking about those that are behind us. The other thing I was thinking about is it's a life preserver for ourselves. We have to save ourselves first before we can actually really minister or bring other people along. So if we're in a place where we're moving forward, it's not always bad because we can bring others along with us. We have to life preserve ourselves first, like they do on the, plane when they say, hey, if you're sitting by this door, you gotta make sure that you are willing to open this door first. Put your what is the oxygen mask on first and get yourself together first before you can help other people. And that's how I kind of see this when you're crossing that bridge, because we do have to get there. Somebody has to get there, right? Somebody has to be an example. Shannon, you said your dad, you feel like he's in the light. He's an example for you of being in the light, of what that warmth looks like, which makes you want to go there yourself, it draws you in to that. So I guess it's not always so bad getting to the finish line or getting to the other side of the bridge, because you do have that potential of bringing other people with you. You don't always have to leave people behind.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. I think that really puts such a beautiful and hopeful spin on this whole conversation, honestly, because I hadn't thought of it that way. And you were so right, Sabby. It's like so many of the conversations that we've had before, you light the way for others. You have to be the rooster and, lead people out of the darkness. That's what the rooster does, right? We had that conversation a couple of weeks ago. So thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, be the light, bring the light. So somebody has to be the one to look forward and say, hey, there's another way. There's another possibility. There's something better over here. So I'm going to go first and I'm going to be on the other side, like cheering you on and holding out the light for you. So thank you for saying that, because
and it takes so much courage too. Could you imagine being that person that actually goes through the darkness and crosses the bridge and then tells everyone, hey, I made it. Come over here,
Have you guys ever seen the movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams?
Don't make me cry again.
To me, sometimes when you go back for someone, like if you've gone forward or you've grown faster, or we're the first one to get married, we're the first one to have kids and, grow differently than your friends or, family members or whatever, you have to go back. And sometimes when you go back, the people that you're going back for aren't necessarily in the best place. And in this movie, he has to go back and look for his wife in hell because she committed suicide. And he refuses to leave her behind. And so he literally walks through hell to find her soul so that he can bring her to goodness and to light, because he just loves her so much. He loves her so deeply. And it's just really beautiful. And I don't know why that comes up for me, because again, just, being the light and seeing the light and going back, because there's always somebody to go back for. There's always somebody that is holding on to hope, even when they're in their darkest moments.
Yeah.
Well said.
I'm glad that we did talk about this topic. I was a little hesitant at first. So thank you, Paula, for being a part of it.
Oh, thank you for having the conversation. And
to
I mean, I
everybody.
guess that's why we do this, right? One of the reasons we started this podcast was to have conversations that are not always comfortable. You know, we have, I'm sure all have things on our hearts and on our minds that, you know, topics that are hard to talk about, things that we may not even, you know, say to ourselves in our moments of solitude and our moments of quiet. And it's important that we do have hard conversations and be here to hold each other up and encourage one another as we continue to walk the bridge. So any final thoughts?
I'm just grateful for you girls. I'm grateful for this nest. I love that. I know that any one of us can move forward and circle back. And we always know where to find each other.
Yeah,
Definitely.
me too.
All right, friends. Well, thank you for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe.
Happy Sunday, Sunday. And
And
share.
happy Sunday, Sunday.
And share.
And share. Happy Sunday, Sunday.
Happy Sunday, Sunday, y'all.
Bye.